Hi, Sally Hancock here, and I decided to do a series of a few videos on making some of the projects that are Cricut's ready design projects in Cricut Design Space. So the first one I decided to do was this cute Be Happy sun catcher. You can't really get the full effect unless it's right in front of a window, but it kind of looks like stained glass through. And so I thought it was a Cricut Access, so it'd be free with Cricut Access, but when I went to make it, I realized it was 99 cents. So from now on, I will do projects that will be free to Cricut Access members. So for now, if you want to do this, it's 99 cents. Or if you want to, you can design something yourself in Design Space to make something similar. So the video took a long time to explain on Cricut Design Space, and so I decided to do it in two parts. So the first part will be doing it in Design Space, and then the second part will be the assembly video. So go ahead and sign in to Design Space and we'll get started. Okay, so once you're signed into Design Space, you're going to go to New Project. That will bring you to your canvas, and then you will click on Projects on the left side, and it brings up all the projects, and then you'll go to Search and type in Suncatcher. Then the Be Happy Suncatcher comes up. You click on that, and it will show you several different pictures of the project and all of the images that it will cut out. If you're happy with the size and the way the project looks, you can just click the Make It button. And if you scroll down, it will give you some instructions. It'll tell you the finished size, what you need to cut, what materials to cut out, what mats, what other materials you will need to make the project. Tissue paper, ribbon, glue, and of course your cutting mats. If you want to alter it, then you'll just click Customize. Then you'll cut it out and then assemble it together. At the very bottom, it shows what images and fonts were used in the projects. This one does cost 99 cents. I had already purchased it. Then we're going to click Customize, and it'll bring it into your mat. So I wanted to cut out 2 per sheet instead of having to use the whole 2 sheets of the cardstock, or sorry, the mat board. No, that was it called? Craft board. So I wanted to make them just a little bit smaller. So if you click on it and hit duplicate and then click a square, and we'll make that the size of the cutting mat, the cutting area of the mat, which is 11.25, and keep the proportions locked, and it will still stay a square. So just change the width and the height will automatically change. Let's change that color by clicking on the circle by it and just make it white. And then click anywhere to close that window. Now let's move our duplicated shape over, click Arrange, and move to front. Then we will see that it is 8 inches wide. So let's go up to the width, and again make sure the Keep Proportions is locked and change it to 7 inches. And then make sure it's selected and click Duplicate, and then move the other piece down and see if they will both fit in the cutting area of the mat. So arrange them so they're still within that square, and they do both fit. So 7 inches is a good size for these. So I'm going to duplicate these 2 more times because we need 4 total. So now we need to work on our clear contact paper. So I'm going to click on that shape and move, or go to arrange and move to front. And it also is 8 inches, so I'm going to go to width and change that to 7 inches. So let's grab a shape and make sure that they are still fitting good together. And it looks like they do. So we can move the Be Happy out of the way and then click on that and duplicate and make sure that they fit in that cutting area, which they should because the Be Happy fit. But what we need to do is mirror one of the images. So we're going to want the sticky side up for this one to put the Be Happy down, and then we're going to sandwich it with another piece of the clear contact paper. So we need it to be reversed so that the sticky side will be opposite. So we can take that second shape and click on flip and then flip horizontal, and it will just turn that so that you have one facing one way and one facing the other, because we have part of the Be Happy is over or outside of the circle. So we can now delete that square. We don't need it. And we can hide the larger images because we don't need those to cut. So you can click on the other shapes that were larger, and then on the right it will highlight the one that is selected, and then you can click on the eye that's next to it, and that will hide it. It will draw a line through the eye and you know that it is hidden. So just go through and click on the shape, find the one that's highlighted, and click on the eye. You can click on the eye on the specific shape or the eye for the group. Either one will make that cut hidden. Now just rearrange so you can find your larger shape. There it is. Click on that and click on the eye. Okay, now all our shapes are ready to go. So we click on the Make It button, and now it will give us a matte preview. So it's having all the shapes cut out on separate mats still, even though they will still fit on 2 shapes per mat. So if you click on it on the mat and then click on the left on those 3 buttons, then you can click Move to another mat. Then it will give you a choices of which mat you want to move it to. So we'll click on mat 1 and close. Now they're both there, just right on top of each other. So move the one down to the corner, and then we'll do the same. Now there's nothing to cut on mat 2, and we'll do the same thing for mat 3. Click on the shape, click on the dots, and move to another mat. We'll choose mat 4, close, and then move that shape so that they will not be on top of each other. Now we need to do the same thing for our clear contact paper. And move that to where you want it to cut. And now we go to our machine and we turn it on and open it up. Then we go back to our computer and it's looking for the machine with the Bluetooth. Or you can plug your machine right into your computer. If you don't have Bluetooth on your computer, it takes a minute to find it. Now I have my dial on my machine set to custom, and so it's asking me to set the material, and it gives some popular choices, and it's not there. So I'm going to want to click on Browse All Materials, and it will list all the materials, and we find the craft board under Artboard. It has a C, which shows it's a Cricut material. We click in that area and click Done. Now it's telling me to load the fine point blade, set the mat, load the mat, and press the load unload button, which is the double arrow. And when I cut it before, the pressure didn't quite go all the way through, so I'm going to click on default and click more. And then it's showing that it's going to cut that third mat. Where it's lighter is the mat that it's going to cut. So we want to make sure that we have the number 1 cut first. Since we arranged the third mat last, then that is going to show up to cut that first. So you need to make sure that you click on the number 1 mat because we need the craft board, to cut first because we need to leave the clear contact paper on the mat. So here are the materials I'm going to cut. The clear contact paper and the craft board. I got the sampler pack that has black, craft, and white colors, and we'll be using the black, and we'll need 2 pieces of it. And the corner is a little bent, but it won't matter because that side won't get cut. So we'll go ahead and load the craft board on the mat. So we'll put that bendy corner down in the bottom left because that spot's not gonna be where we're cutting. So we'll just line it up with the top and the right sides. And then make sure it's stuck down really well all over, because if it's not, that can affect your cut. And then place the mat underneath the guides on both sides, and then give it a little bit of pressure as you push the flashing load unload button. And then it will load the mat up. And then when it's ready to cut, the flashing C will tell you, and then you push the button, and that will start your cut. Now that the first mat is cut, we will press the load unload button again, and it will release the mat. And there are our first 2 shapes cut. And just turn it over, and if you peel the mat back instead of the paper, then it makes it to where your cut does not curl as much. Now I have a new mat, so it's super sticky. So I'm just going to peel away the excess paper first. So some of the paper stayed there, but that's okay. So now I'll peel it back and carefully remove my cutout. As I say, it's a pretty new mat, so it was very sticky. If you want to get some of the sticky off before you place your paper on, you can press your hands all over it or up against a t-shirt you're wearing or something like that to make it not quite so sticky, which maybe I should have done because it was really sticking bad. So there it is, all off. Looks pretty cute. So we'll set that aside and get the second one off. We'll speed that up a bit so it's not so long to watch me take that off. And there we go. So it's got a few little bits still stuck. Just take those out. And there you have the first two. It tore just a little bit, stuck to the mat, but since we're gluing several together, we'll just make sure that that one's not the bottom one. Then you'll want to remove your extra scraps off your mat and load your second sheet. Then you'll go and it will show a check mark that that's cut, and then make sure you're going to cut your second mat and load it up the same way you did the first one. So I'll put my second sheet of craft board on the mat, press it down, make sure it's good and adhered everywhere. Again, put it under the guides and give it a little bit of pressure as it loads. And when that C button is flashing, we just push it and the Cricut does its amazing thing. I have, of course, sped this up. It takes a while to cut because it cuts it twice to make sure that it goes all the way through. So it does take a little while to cut out. So just be patient. Okay, now I'm ready to load up my clear contact paper, and we want to make it to where the paper is on the top, because to put this project together, it's easiest if you leave these cuts on the mat when you start assembling. So I'm struggling a bit here with it sticking everywhere, but eventually we will get it to go down. There we go. And just make sure it's good and smooth and doesn't have any air bubbles or wrinkles in it. As best you can, smooth it out everywhere. And once it's good and smooth, then you are ready to load it up. So I am not sure which material to use for this at this point. So I realize it's like vinyl, but so I choose to go with the stencil vinyl setting on my custom settings. And before I unload it, I'm going to check the cut to make sure it went all the way through. So I'm just going to peel up a little bit, and if you don't unload it, you can always recut it and it will cut in the exact same space. Just don't unload it. So it looks like it cut all the way through. So I'm going to go ahead and unload it. And now I'm just going to remove the excess material and leave the cuts on the mat, as I said, to help in the assembly of the project. So just peel them up. As I say, it's a very sticky mat. So now that we are done, all 3 of our mats have cut, we just click Finish on the computer, and then if you want to save the project to do it later, you can click on Save and Save Project As, and then you can rename it. And since it is a Cricut image, it will be public, so other people can see and make this project. And then click Save, and it will save it in your projects. So to look at the instructions, again, I'm going to go back to the home screen, click on New Project and Projects, and just maneuver back, search for Suncatcher, and go back to where I was at the beginning so that I can look at the instructions again on how to put it together. Of course, if the first time you look at it, there's a print option, and you can just print out the instructions so that you can refer to them as you assemble your project. And I'm just going to look at the picture. Inside the letters has 2 colors of tissue, and then around the outside of the letters is 2 different colors of tissue. And so you put one of the craft board cutouts over the laminating adhesive, then you keep it on the mat and peel the paper off, and then put the craft board down, and then put the tissue on, and then put the other clear contact paper on top, and then layer the 2 pieces, the other 2 pieces of craft board together. Sorry, there'll be 3 other pieces, so you'll glue them all together and then glue that on top of the project. Then punch a hole and put in some ribbon. So then I will show you what it looks like if you want to print it. On my printer anyway, it'll give you a preview, and it'll have the picture and the instructions and the images. And so if you want to print it, you can, but I am not going to. So that is how you make it in your Cricut. I will do a separate video for the assembly of this project, because this video was pretty long and not everybody has a Cricut. So in my assembly video, you can pick any shape you'd like to make this project. So thanks for watching.